On to the next one.
Aha!
We're right on time.
Fetching stream. We are streaming. Hey everybody. Oops, I forgot to do our logo. This is the Jimmy Doane Show.
Yes, it is. Oh, which reminds me, by the way, our business card should be here the next day or two.
All right, and listen, for our listeners out there, we are now available on iTunes.
Yes.
So tune your iPhone to iTunes, search for the Jimmy Doane Show, as you can see, D-O-A-N-E. Not the Jimmy Dore Show.
No.
Although Jimmy Dore, you know, he's kind of funny. I like him as a guy. I saw him do a podcast, and he's got some ideas which are good and some ideas which are totally crazy.
Yeah, he's kind of progressive.
But this is us.
Yeah,
so,
we're different.
And we're also here live, as you can see, twice a week, Wednesdays and Sundays at 4 p.m. right here on Facebook, and I'll post a time-stamped copy up on YouTube right after the show. I'm Counselor Curtis. I'm here with Jimmy Doane. Today is the 17th of February, 2019.
2019, right.
Welcome to the show, Gene. I love
He
it.
pops right in, doesn't he? That's good. One of our best.
I love you.
One of the best.
That's right.
All the way from Colorado.
That's right. So what's going on?
Well, there's quite a few things going on, and in no particular order. But the big thing, of course, has been that Trump declared the emergency.
The emergency.
And
That's an emergency.
That's right. Well, it's interesting because we'll end up at the Supreme Court. They said everybody's already figured that. After unveiling his intention to declare a national emergency that would allow him to redirect some $7 billion in additional funding to his border wall, President Trump said Friday that he'll be sued. No problem, and we'll probably get a bad ruling, and then we'll get another bad ruling, and then it'll go to the Supreme Court.
Right.
Now, of course, maybe between now and then, RBG will croak. And no, we don't want that. No, we'll retire gracefully.
Right. yeah.
Okay. Anyway, and and it's interesting because a lot of people and a lot of Republicans as well have come out against his plan, and they call it a subversion of the Constitution, running around the legislative, the power of the purse on Congress. Mm-hmm. However, and of course, then immediately the hyperbole shows up with Nancy Pelosi saying, "Oh, well then, when we get our guy in there, we're going to ban all guns or whatever it is." Mm-hmm. Well, you get a little problem here because that's in the Constitution.
Right,
and
right,
you're going to have to, not to say that the Constitution hadn't been run around all over itself, as we have talked about before. There's one of the greatest books I ever read called the 12. What was it called? The 12.
Well,
the
12 worst decisions ever.
12 worst decisions, or something like that. And we've talked about those on another podcast. But and they have kind of subverted the Constitution on some level. Sure. But if you're going to confiscate everybody's guns, you got a little problem. Anyway, so apparently what happens is that when you think about it, protecting the border is in fact an executive item. I mean, that's written there someplace too.
It is. And the problem, here's the problem though, Trump blew it. I think he blew it.
Oh, he did? Okay,
He could have done this, okay, when we first said it a couple of months ago or whenever he wanted to do it.
Uh-huh.
The way that it works with constitutional powers in terms of the executive is that the executive is at his greatest powers when it concerns national defense, as you would assume. And every president has ratcheted up the executive power concerning defense. So this is no difference.
Well, there have been like 25 or 30 national emergencies.
I got the list right here.
Do you?
Yes.
I mean, everybody's done it.
There are currently 30 national emergencies in effect. Unfortunately, our image isn't good enough to see all of them here, but you can see they go all the way back to Carter. So it's still in effect.
Right.
30 of them. All right. So it's not like this is going to change everybody's universe or anything.
Right.
But here's the problem that Trump stepped in. The problem is that the way that the Supreme Court handles executive power in these situations is it says the executive is at his strongest when Congress has not spoken on the issue. If Congress has spoken on the issue, then it becomes a contest of whose purview it really is.
Okay, now has Congress itself actually spoken on it?
They have now because he signed this stupid bill. See, that's the whole point. All he had to do was table that bill,
Right.
And then they wouldn't have been able to say, we spoke on this issue and that's already law. But now, apparently, according to Ann Coulter, there are specific provisions in this bill, and all they have to do is make a finding that says, we considered this and we say no. And then the Supreme Court has to take that into consideration.
Right.
And it greatly increases the weight.
Right. Well, there was poison pills all over it, somebody was saying.
And why? What did he want the money that was in there for? Why not just table that sucker, declare the emergency, start building, do whatever you got to do?
Well, the problem was if you hadn't signed the bill, we'd be out of government.
Okay.
That bill was
the funding.
The funding for the government until September, right? So you can't just table that.
Well, you can. You just go back into the government shutdown again. And I guess he was going to eat it on that anyway. So, so maybe he backed himself into a corner. I think by not doing the emergency thing when he had the chance before.
I see.
They roped him off basically. So and the way I look at it is, okay, if you see, you can say he went around the appropriations, and that may be the case. But it's $8 billion. I mean, that's 2 days worth of government funding or something. I mean, it's not.
Bezos could write a check for that.
Right. It's not like he's appropriating $100 billion or something, or a trillion.
Yeah.
For the banks.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
$800 billion. Yeah, we've seen that.
Yeah.
So of course that was with congressional approval. But what difference does it make if it sinks us all? So that's where we're at. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. Well, of course, one of the things is the next question. We talked a little bit about this, and that is, what if he starts rolling the graders and everything out there and just starts doing it?
Well, that's what he should do.
Well, I know, but apparently there's some. I'm not sure exactly, but apparently there's some doubt as to whether he actually can do that.
Well, here's what it comes down to. He can do it.
Yeah.
And then they have to get an injunction. Right. Now, AOC has threatened that she's going to try to get an injunction to stop him from declaring the emergency. Mm-hmm. Good luck.
Yeah, right.
That's not going to happen. Not even going to happen.
Yeah.
So he's going to be fine with that. He could roll it out. If I were him, I would send the troops down. I would start building and start taking pictures and then let them shut it down. And
well, of course,
or not let them, but
well,
I mean,
here's
if they shut it down.
But what's interesting is the following. It's the military that's going to be doing the building. Mm-hmm. So, and those guys are really good at building stuff. I mean, they
fast, efficient.
You want a bridge across a river? Hey, bring it down. Bring it on. Right. That's the whole deal. So they do that and they get started. But then, so they get the injunction, and what? Who's going to stop them?
Well, at the time the injunction comes out, if they get a court order from the Supreme Court, and they would have to come from the Supreme Court because Trump would appeal it all the way up. So as we talked about before, it's going to be bogged down in the courts for a little while anyway. But if they got a ruling from the Supreme Court, he would pretty much have to abide. Now, I say pretty much because, as we know in the past, presidents have denied the Supreme Court. They've told them,
yes, exactly.
Get out of here. How many divisions do you have?
Right, exactly.
And send them
Andy
on over.
Jackson, when he killed all the Trail of Tears.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I would think that there would be a lot of blowback from him denying the Supreme Court. That's one of those things that in the news you can say the president denies the Supreme Court. I mean, headlines everywhere. That would not go down well, I don't think, in the public opinion that doesn't pay very close attention to politics, which is most everybody.
But the Supreme Court's kind of sacred.
Right.
And so, I mean, you can imagine the impeachment hearings firing up in a hurry if he dissed the Supreme Court.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah.
They would have a lot stronger ground to go after him if he denies them. But up until that point, he can tell everybody to go jump in a lake.
Yeah. Well, anyways, as he told his people, he says, "See you in court."
See ya.
That's it. The one little minor thing here I want to talk about just for a second. Speaking of,
we have to talk about AOC.
No,
not
yet. Not yet. I'm not sure we're going to get to her today.
Yes, we get to Amazon, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I got more on that.
Okay.
But before I get to that, it's to say in no particular, the Jesse Smollett thing.
Okay.
Jesse Smollett, this has been on again, off again. I mean, it was amazing. Cory Booker and Kamala, whatever, and they all came out and said, "Oh my God, this is the MAGA people, and this is the white racists, and this guy is this woe betide him. He's in the hospital, and let's find these guys and whatever, blah blah." Well, of course, instantaneously the story started to fall apart, and I mean. I called bullshit from day one. I mean, we did. We absolutely nailed it. Said this is no way, Jose. I mean, and on so many levels, you don't need more than about one thing.
Right.
You've been attacked. You've been attacked. and forget the fact that you waited 40 minutes to go to the hospital or walked or whatever it is. You walked in with your hoagie in your hand. With your
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, somebody attacked you and you didn't drop it. I mean, I'm sorry.
Well, there were, like you said, there were so many little indicators.
I mean,
the biggest
tons.
one was the nobody screams, "This is MAGA country," and punches somebody. Nobody announces their position when they're
Right.
engaged in some kind of attack. But there were other indicators like, okay, well, okay.
We don't have to go through it. There
Well,
were all
I
kinds
want to go through it a little bit because
okay.
I want to talk about the mistakes that he made. Which when it first came out, I thought, okay, that's weird. They didn't scream MAGA country. I don't care what else happened. Maybe he got attacked by somebody, but that didn't happen. The last part didn't happen. But now we hear about, like you said, the noose. Think about this: 2 guys attack somebody with a noose and then leave. What I mean, what he didn't
scared
stop.
them off.
Well, no, he didn't. I mean, he was getting his butt kicked, and then they just leave. Like what? Nobody threatened them. Nobody shooed them away. There was no loud noise or anything. Nothing happened. And so, in other words, they completed their act, which was to leave him alone. So there's suspicion right there. And then I went through and watched his interview on GMA.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yes. And I've got to say, first off, well, here's my first thought was his voice tone was very even and convincing. And I thought, well,
He's an actor.
Exactly. That's exactly.
actor.
If he's going to get one thing right, it's the voice tone. Because he
actor.
wasn't. Most people when they're live, like, but he had this nice, smooth voice tone. It was very even. So I was like, that's interesting. But then when he got to the description of what happened, the interviewer says to him, "What happened?" All right. Now I've said this a million times to people, and so I know how these responses go.
Yeah.
And this is what his response was. Well. So I was coming back from Europe. I got off the plane and I went home to my house and I was hungry. And I looked in the fridge and there wasn't any food there. So I decided I'd go down to the Walmart because I thought it was 24 hours, or the Walgreens, and I was going to get a sandwich, because I like 24 hours. And then I went over to the Subway after that because the thing was closed. And then, all right, now so what I've done right here is this. I've just given you a whole bunch of details that have nothing to do with the attack.
Right.
Now, this is an unconscious thing that happens to people.
Okay.
Because people know that what makes a story convincing are the details.
Right.
So when you see a great story, it doesn't say the monster killed the man. It says the monster with his gangly claws ripped into his neck and tore his head off, and that's what makes it believable. Same kind of thing here. He's unconsciously filling in details which have nothing to do with the attack.
Right.
We don't need to know where he just came from. A plane? That has nothing to do with what happened. So normally, if somebody actually was in a situation like that, they would start with the incident. And then he goes on to describe the incident. And he says, the 2 guys were there, and then he punched me in my face. And then I punched him back. And then we started to tussle. And then I felt the guy kicking me, and then they ran away. Just about that many statements is how he described the attack.
Okay.
Now, everybody who's been in an attack knows a couple of things. Number one, time slows down. Because your mind starts to perceive danger all over the place. And it picks up on all kinds of details. And it memorizes these details. So when you're describing an actual attack, you don't say stuff like, he punched me in the face. You say, he walked up and I could see his right fist clenching a little bit, and then he swung and his hand came over this way and it hit me right here, but I didn't go down because I didn't, and I turned like this, and then I came back and I hit him like this, and he was like this, and it's a big descriptive thing, and none of those details were present in the attack description that he gave. So right away I'm like, dude, you left out all the pertinent details, and you included a bunch of impertinent details. So it's no is the answer. And of course now we know that the 2 guys, the other thing was when they finally showed him the picture of the 2 guys, he's like, that's them. No, you don't. No, they're sitting there in big clothes and everything. There's no way you could possibly say in that blurry, grainy video that those were the 2 guys, but yet he insisted on it. And then the cops tracked those guys down. Turns out they worked on Empire as extras. Then you're like, wait a minute, but you can still kind of see that maybe they didn't like him on Empire for some reason, and they attacked him after that. But now come to find out, maybe he paid them, all this kind of stuff. They're Nigerian. Who would have thought? 2 Nigerians pulling a scam. So he's in a hideous load of crap trouble now, and there's no way out. He's gonna get a conviction, and the police are gonna be really pissed off. They hate doing work. And they really hate doing work when it's fake work.
Right.
So they got bamboozled into doing a whole bunch of work, and they're going to take it out on him.
Okay.
So I don't know what kind of example they're going to make out of him. All in all, it's just a false police report. It's not like a huge crime.
Right.
Nobody actually got hurt because of it. If he had managed to pull the whole thing off, what result? He gets a speaking tour, and now he's the race speaker for everybody. Well,
gay too.
And then, but. That didn't happen, and nobody suffered for it, and so theoretically they could give him a slap on the wrist. But I think they'll try to give him some jail time. I think the prosecutors are going to be pissed off.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
Well, see, the comments are all finally about that, but it was interesting to see the instantaneous reaction from the LBGTQ, the colored, whatever
everybody who jumped on board in the first day.
And what they said is the untweeting has begun in en masse.
I'm sure it has.
I mean, they're trying to delete.
Right.
You know.
But I think all tweets have been saved. All tweets have been saved into a database.
No, that's, of course, yeah. I was reading them today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. There was, and there was actually not only just that day, but even when the suspicion started really up, there was no, but they were still saying no, I still believe him. It was it was like the Kavanaugh hearings,
Right.
I believe.
Yeah, well, it's the same kind of thing, exactly the same kind of thing. Christine Blasey Ford did not provide the details. If you go on our website, jimmydoneshow.com, you can find my list of 71 additional questions that I would have asked her if I were interviewing her, and they would have provided the necessary or unnecessary detail.
Right. No, that's
to show whether or not she was being honest. And the same thing with this.
Well, so it'll. I
feel bad for the guy now but he bought it.
He bought it and brought him on himself.
And then he does the interview. And of course now he has to resist. Now he has to play dumb and whatever, because now it's a matter of how much time you're going to get. But
cognitive dissonance.
Well, look, he tried to scam. It takes some incredible audacity to try to put the entire nation under a scam, but he did. So, swing and a miss.
Yes, boy, I'll tell you, a real miss. I mean, that's... Okay, next item I've got is the world...
AOC!
Oh, do you want to do AOC?
We gotta do Amazon. It's huge. It's huge.
Okay. Well, it's funny because... we can do that was the thing of New York, okay?
New York!
Yeah, here we are, Long Island.
That's right.
Let me just see here. Where are we here on the... just a moment. Excuse me.
I mean, this is obviously for the people who have been away on vacation for the last few days or unable to check their cell phones, because this stuff is all over the news at this point.
Well, maybe they have long beards and they just woke up from a nap.
Something.
So where did I put that?
Well, I'll start it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Obviously, what happened
Here
was...
we go, yeah. De Blasio, go ahead.
Well, Amazon tried to make the deal, thought they had the deal made with de Blasio and Cuomo, praised them for their efforts and help and the $3 billion.
What he's going to do is build up a second on Long Island or whatever.
HQ2.
HQ2, 25 to 40,000 new jobs.
Right. Plus 67,000 additional jobs. Related.
Oh, related, right. Yeah, I mean all the subways
projections,
and everybody.
The food, people, everything.
Yeah, right, all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, think about all
everybody's got to eat.
Well, that's not all. I mean, you think about all the traffic that's generated with the UPS trucks and everything, or whatever. Blah blah blah. It goes on and on.
Right.
And it's because one of the things you don't realize, and I talk about this in my cereal aisle thing, is that.
Oh, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Jimmy's writing a book.
Yeah, he is. He's writing a book. But it's fairly simple acts can affect thousands of people, and so this is what we're talking about. Anyway, so then they put up a big hoorah. AOC comes out and says, "We don't want you," and apparently got a bunch of her Twitter people on, and they all they championed against this thing.
She's still happy about it.
I know she. Oh no, she's ecstatic. No, she totally is. Good riddance to bad rubbish, whatever. But I mean, when you look at, they were given something like $3 billion in tax breaks,
right?
And somebody did the math on it and figured out that they would earn that back in 2 years or something like that.
Oh, I thought it was less than that. I heard De Blasio or either De Blasio or Cuomo came out and said they were going to get 27 billion in tax revenue,
Right.
and 3 billion in breaks. That is
Right, over the...
that was the trade-off. 27 billion for 3 billion.
Right. Not to mention, of course, that all the new employees pay taxes.
Right. And I calculated that at about $1 billion a year.
I mean, God almighty. And so, because they're high-paying jobs.
Right.
And so these people are,
You got to figure 25,000 in Amazon. Let's say there's 67,000 additional, 100,000 jobs generally. If every one of them just paid $10,000, that's $1 billion
Right.
annually.
There you go.
And you know it's going to be 20,000, so that's $2 billion. You get that back in 1 year just from the employee's salary.
Right. So anyway,
But then we have to say also, it wasn't all just tax credits. There was some actual cash payout.
Okay,
a few
right,
hundred
yeah.
million bucks or something.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give AOC the credit that maybe she was talking about that money when she's talking about spending on teachers and stuff. But as we have to point out that what her idea was to use the money that they had saved from chasing Amazon away to revitalize their community.
Right.
And of course, everybody's pointed out, you don't have that money now.
Yeah.
You killed the golden goose.
Right.
You strangled the goose. You cooked it. You're eating it.
well, what's interesting is to see the number of people that support her. I mean, you read the comments, and I'll
Well,
tell you,
her
there's lots and lots of people. Well, no, but I mean, there were people with signs out there saying, we don't want you. And so finally Bezos says, okay, fine, I'm out. And bye-bye. And of course, immediately, of course, de Blasio and Cuomo go ballistic. And as well they should have. So de Blasio slams a 1%er, Bezos, for shafting New York.
Right.
They shafted it. Well, no, you tried to shaft him.
Well, how about, it's like somebody showing up at your door with a Christmas present and then taking it away because you piss them off, and
Right.
then you're shafted?
Yeah, right.
I mean, no. It's just insane. It's
You throw rocks at him and he runs away with your
Right.
Christmas present, and you say it's your fault
That's
for
right.
running away. So anyway, he slammed Amazon on Friday. A Seattle-based online retailer backed out of a $3 billion deal for a second North American headquarters that would have brought 25,000 to 40,000 jobs to Long Island.
whoops.
And here, quote from de Blasio, here's Bezos and here's Amazon, the definition of the 1%. Look how little regard there was for everyday people, and just dispels the notion that these big corporations are willing to be good citizens and good neighbors. I mean, what's fascinating is that he was trying to be a good neighbor, for God's sakes. I mean, you couldn't have lost on that deal. And because this is one of the things. It's like Maduro, who blames the United States for the paucity in his country. I mean, give it a bro. It's your fault. So anyway, so anyway, I just think that Cuomo and union representatives and Amazon were all blaming Amazon for everything, and I just thought to myself, you don't get it.
No, they don't. They just honestly don't get it. But they're gonna get it, or not get it.
Yeah, well, of course, one of the things now is there going to be a second headquarters, and
Right.
where might it be?
Well, whoever it is, they're going to be thanking the liberals in New York for chasing them
Send
out
a
of
nice
there.
Valentine card to AOC. Thank you so much for
Exactly.
you. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, okay. Speaking of money that large companies get, whatever it is, the world's tax collectors look to divvy up.
Oh, well, there's one more thing I want to say about AOC real
Okay.
quick before we get off of her.
All right.
Did you notice that? Did you notice that Ben Shapiro challenged her to a debate?
Yeah, and not only that, I think didn't Lauren Southern up the ante
Yes.
to
So
20,000 or something?
Right. Well, what was interesting though is that her response to Shapiro's request was, she said, he's catcalling me.
Okay, now what is that?
Well, that's when you like dog whistle or something,
Okay.
like woo, hey baby, come on over here.
Okay.
In other words,
right. Okay.
all right, now if you think about it, Shapiro is like a happily married Orthodox Jew.
Right.
There's no possible chance that he's actually hitting on her.
No.
Okay. So that's just ridiculousess.
She
But-
should be so lucky.
Well, sorry, here we're having a little technical difficulty with my camera, but it's not a problem. Try to get it back here in a second. There we are.
Okay, you're kind of washed out there.
Well, like I said, having little technical difficulties. But
so anyway, so she decided not to do it. Obviously, and of course the question is, $20,000 for your favorite charity.
right, how do you deny that? And just for a debate. And well, it's just funny though that to me, I thought it was interesting that she just throws out that insult to him, like you're just catcalling. Like that's if she had thought about it for 1 second, she'd have realized that's not what he's doing. It may not. She can call it something else that's negative, but it's certainly not that. And so my point is that she just reactively, it's like.
Well, do you think that she has any interior voice telling her she would lose such a debate?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't think so. I think that she really just doesn't want to sit down and maybe give him. I don't know. It's tough, but people that are that fixated on their personal beliefs, they say that as Scott Adams says, they're cognitive dissonance, and he goes on to prove it, and everything's kind of interesting.
Right. Well, and she doesn't want to face it if she don't want to debate. So we'll see. I mean, she's gonna have to debate somebody at some point. So
you would think.
Yeah. I at this point, I'm thinking either she's going to implode within one term, and they'll vote her out next time, or the country keeps going socialist and we elect a president in 2024. So
she won't be old enough.
She will actually. I double checked.
Okay,
she turns like the week before the election.
The week before.
Her birthday's in October.
Well, remember now though, you can't be president until you don't get to be president until January 20th.
Right. So she's actually had a couple months.
Actually, she's got a couple of months actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, no problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and don't think she won't run if,
I was going to say,
still in office at that point.
You can be elected all you want before you're 36 or 35 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, the world's tax collectors look to divvy up the tech billion. This is one of those things that when there's a pot of money floating around, as P.G. O'Rourke once said, money is to politicians like dung is to flies, and they just can't keep their hands off of it. I mean,
now the people have started talking about it. Now it's time to shave some billionaires.
That's right. So nations to wrangle over to excess profits on Facebook, Google, and the other giants.
Excess profits.
Excess profits. That's right.
Not their regular profits, just the excess.
Excess, because they're making like way. It's one thing if you
just the profits that are too much.
Right. Well, I mean, you get 100 million, 200 million, fine, but you get 10 billion. We need some of that for our people. Dozens of countries are now considering new taxes aimed at the largest tech firms. That is putting pressure on the U.S. to cut a deal that would give other countries a bigger share of American corporate profits rather than see earnings taxed twice or become the subject of repeated disputes. And I love this. The OECD, which is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, who are those people, began seeking public input on proposals, including one from the U.S. to determine where digital companies' profits should be allocated.
Should be.
Yeah, and therefore from which countries to get and tax them. So they're going to ask for public input. That's like me? And no, I don't think so. No.
Well, look, this is all just a CYA move, so they can say, well, we spoke to the public, and the public has spoken. And now we're moving forward with the public's plan to take the billionaires' mones.
That's it. So
not our plan.
So anyway, they began seeking input on public input on this. I already did that. The public consultation process, likely to draw responses from companies and their advisors, as well as organizations seeking tougher tax rules on corporations, is an early milestone in a process that will require countries with competing interests to reach a consensus before taking so forth.
When I think about what amazing outliers the billionaires in this country are, I mean, we're talking about the bell curve way out on the end
we're talking
here.
1/10 of 1%.
Super productive, likely incredibly intelligent, probably geniuses, certainly in their fields, and these guys work all the time. They have created these massive things because of their efficiencies, and yet these politicians think that they're just gonna take the money and spend it better, like.
Well, there's a couple things to think about.
It's just amazing to think that.
Well, they got some help though from people like Bill Gates,
who said that nobody should be this rich or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Fine, give it away.
Yeah, well, he is, of course, giving it away to charity, which is fine. He's making a better decision than any government would. That's for sure. But for him to come out and say that to me, and he's also on board with Warren Buffett and one other big,
Ted Turner, the
no,
Giving
not
Pledge.
Ted, no. One of the pundits on TV that is talking about the inheritance tax or the death tax, and they're decrying the death tax, and of course they said it should go way up. It should be, it should be confiscatory. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? First of all, I just want to tell you this. There was something that we called years ago. They called them the Microsoft Millionaires. These were the people that had glommed onto Microsoft for one reason, and they're millionaires. And when you think about the number of people that these companies hire, the Waltons are worth billions, okay? But there's, I don't know how many employees. They're the largest employee in the world. The largest employer in the world. Well, they don't pay minimum wage. No. There are managers. There are people that get paid pretty well. The point being that when you look at the wealth that they created, all out, and you're gonna and they I forget exactly what somebody did a little spreadsheet on if you confiscated the pharmaceutical company guy who made $200 million or something like that, and you spread that out, it's like 12 cents or something for the workers,
right?
Or $12 a year or something. It's something ridiculous,
Right. Well, from my perspective, people who are economically liberal see the economy as a snapshot. They're not seeing the engine. They're not seeing the flow of it all. They look and they see, oh, there's rich people, I can see they're rich, and there's poor people, I can see they're poor. Clearly, you just give that money away.
Well, of course, somebody has to show up with a gun and take it away.
No problem. They got people for that.
Yeah, they got people. They got gunslingers for that. So anyway, they've decided they want to see a deal by the end of 2020, by the end of next year, for God's sakes. And they're talking about is, of course, they see this as you say, as a pot of money. All the governments now, the OECD, the European and all these other countries are sitting there saying, geez, they're making all this money. I think about some of this stuff when you realize that money is also being invested. I mean, it's not just sitting there.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying, is that these people, the stuff that they do with their money is incredibly efficient, incredibly beneficial on so many levels to so many people. And for her to think that she's going to make better decisions about where to put that money, even in charity, is just the height of arrogance.
Oh, it's unbelievable. No, I mean, they do that here. And, you go down and complain. They say, well, it's only $1 million. I'm going, yeah, but, it's the mindset, for God's sakes, that they're giving away down here in Gainesville. I think $1 million or $2 million or something they did. And they have a charity selection process where people come up and make their bid.
Right.
And, of course, there's...
And they decide how much money
they decide how much to give you. It's just, what? Yeah, anyway, they don't trust the market. Okay, next item that I've got here is FDA Proof CBD supplement is $32,500 pharmaceutical drug. Now, we talked about the CBD before. That it is, in fact, it does appear that it has some medicinal purpose. And, of course, it's not addictive. It comes from hemp. And, of course, one of the little problems, FDA is ignoring Congress and attacking an affordable subject to protect big pharma. And this is why, and everybody wonders why health care costs so much. $32,500 is the dosage, or whatever, the needed dosage on the CBD authorized by the FDA. The Farm Bill, of course, legalized hemp. So, as a major step towards ensuring consumer access and affordable CBD oil, unfortunately, the FDA has gone down on them and said, no, you can't do that. So, the fighting out the the two giant regulatory agencies are fighting it out, and nobody knows what they're going to do. It's reiterated the FDA's position that regardless of hemp's legalization, it's still illegal to sell CBD as supplements and stuff.
Right. Well, we talked about this. Them mixing it with the food involves the FDA. They don't want to lose any of their power. They're going to get their butts involved. I was watching a video the other day about the FDA and how really the FDA is just there for big corporations. That is to say, they just tamp down the competition.
Well, they do, and especially when you think that it takes $500 million to get some kind of an approval. I mean,
well, that's what I'm getting at. You can't, if you have a giant company, you can say, look, we produce this great product and we have all these studies which show how effective it is, and we can show that the next best competitors and everybody else can't reach our level of effectiveness. So we're asking you to make reasonable regulations which exclude them from the market.
Well, not only that, of course, the other thing that you look at is when you see it in a magazine, you'll see an advertisement for a particular drug. You turn the page, and the entire page is filled with 8-point type telling you all, including death. And what this is, and who's going to read it? And number one, and how do you
a massive deregulation campaign? But everybody's still in the bandwagon. Even the marijuana people are still regulating marijuana. It's like regulating butterflies.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever heard the story. A butterfly ripped a girl's arm off today. When she caught it with a net. No, you don't have to worry about butterflies, and you don't have to worry about marijuana. It's fine. It'll be fine. Now, there's a good discussion on it this week on Joe Rogan's podcast. He has a debate between a doctor and some guy who wrote a book.
Oh, yeah?
Which talks about the negative effects of marijuana, which there are some, you have to admit. But
what, you eat too much?
Well, no, there are some, like people say, they say if you're lazy, don't smoke marijuana. Because it may not make people lazy, but it makes lazy people lazier. And so...
Okay, and...
Well,
as they say, how many deaths have been attributed to marijuana?
Well, none, but if you could make the argument that it damages your ambition or something...
Your productivity, yes, that's
something
right.
like that, and so...
And alcohol.
So all I'm saying is that, look, I don't care. Charity has negative benefits, all right? There's, or not benefit, negative implications.
Right.
So marijuana is not any different from that. But overall... Come on. And everybody's getting with the program. I think the FDA will fall in line eventually.
I think so too. The agency adds that it won't. What I like about this is they're panic-stricken about the CBD, but they're not going to enforce the ruling for the time being. That means the companies which wish to ignore it may do so for the time. It can ignore the ruling for the time being.
There is nothing more disruptive to lawmaking and rulemaking than making a rule and then not enforcing it.
And they tell you not going to enforce it. We're not going to enforce it for the time being.
That's a hideous strategy.
It's just
awful.
Wait a minute. You deem this to be horrible and everything. So anyway, and what's interesting is this is exactly what happened to cherry and walnut growers who dared to cite some of the science supporting health benefits of cherries and walnuts. Mm-hmm. I remember this years ago.
Oh, yeah.
The FDA said that citing this research made cherries and walnuts unapproved drugs and it was therefore illegal. In some cases, the agency threatened jail time for these crimes. I remember, for instance, when Steve McQueen has cancer, and he went to Mexico, and apparently the peach pit or something was supposed to have some kind of chemical that would help with cancer or something. He had to go to Mexico to get it. He died. It didn't do any good. But that was his choice. Big deal. And I forget what the chemical was in the peach stone or whatever. But the point is... I guess they want to regulate the sale of peaches or something. I don't know. But they did it with walnuts and cherries.
Well, like you said, anytime you mention something medicine, you've invaded somebody's purview.
Well, it is, and I mentioned that in my forthcoming essay about that sort of thing on what the rules and regulations that you have to have on a box of cereal. The list is that long of stuff, including the ingredients. Okay, next item I've got here. The Blackface and Black Eye. Now, I thought this was kind of interesting. The Louisiana Police Department has been embroiled because they found pictures of a bunch of the policemen in blackface from 93, I think it was. Yeah. They found some pictures from a 1993 operation. It was a drug sting.
Yeah. I don't think they're embroiled in anything.
It says they are. It's this word embroiled is right here. A Louisiana Police Department is the latest entity to get caught in a scandal involving blackface, adding to a disturbingly growing list of offenders from the late 20th century. The Baton Rouge Department issued an apology after the revelation of a photo showing two of its officers wearing blackface.
We didn't mean to appropriate the culture of the gang members.
Yeah, right.
Trying to infiltrate.
What are you going to do? You're going to walk in and infiltrate. You're white, and you're going to walk in there and infiltrate as part of an undercover drug operation. Are you crazy? And of course, this was in 1993. And as I said, well, back in 93, actually, this was okay. We didn't, nobody complained. It was not. It is department policy now not to wear blackface, but it wasn't then. So, where's the problem? Anyway, they want to lynch them up. But blackface
Ooh, don't say that.
I love this. Blackface photographs are inappropriate and offensive. Okay, well, don't take your picture then. Idiot.
Right. Look, nobody dresses up in actual blackface anymore. Okay, that was a trope from the 30s, 40s.
Oh yeah, Al Jolson and
Okay.
people like
so and whatever you want to call that, people don't do that anymore. The last one to do it was Hillary, in her costume there with Bill and the hayseed thing. Nobody's done that this century. When people put black on their face, it's for some other purpose. They may want to look like a black person, but it's not to deride the person.
No, this is my exfoliant.
Well,
I'm laying here in the spa area, and I've got this black stuff all over my face.
Right. Again, I have no sympathy for adults who are offended by people with face makeup. Just get it over.
That's right.
You'll be fine.
Next item, we want to say goodbye to the Rover.
Oh.
This was sad. Goodbye. Opportunity. 5 times the mighty Mars rover delighted the galaxy. I don't know if the galaxy, but it certainly delighted the people here in Space Center. Mm-hmm. They officially said goodbye to the Rover. This was just now. It's been silent for about 8 months. Mm-hmm. But it was 15 years. This thing. It had the Opportunity 1 or whatever, the first one. It's supposed to have a lifetime of 90 days. And it went for 5 or 6 years. That was the first one. This one was the same time, whatever. And it was supposed to be, whatever, I don't know, 6 months or a year or whatever it was. 15 years this thing put stuff back.
Fantastic.
Unbelievable. Talk about over-engineering, my God.
Love it. Love it.
I tell you, it's just,
Yeah, it finally got swallowed in a dust storm.
Yeah, and they tried to resurrect it, and
planet-wide storm.
Yeah, right. For months or something. Now, what we're going to hope that the Chinese will do, or maybe Elon Musk, is he will pack a whisk broom on the first. Yes, exactly, and just dust off the solar cells and see if they'll fire that baby back up.
You think they had a little arm that come out and do that?
You would think. You would think. I mean, Bugs Bunny, the Bugs Bunny thing, they have a stuff that does that.
Had that for decades.
And that's the little Mars guy too.
Right.
He has a brush on his head. So, oh, the idiot is here so much. So, anyway, I thought that was fascinating. Now, here's the next item, the constitutional item. The House Judiciary Committee advances universal background check on guns. Mm. Now, what they want to do is they want to really go. What's this?
This is this little slideshow on some gun statistics I tried to put together. It's not incredibly replete, but it's pretty good.
Well, what they want to do is they want to make sure that all guns are at least registered some way, shape, or form. And of course, the big loophole so far has been the gun shows.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's not a big loophole.
That's what they're claiming it is. Now, one of the things you don't realize is that, and having been to gun shows myself, if a dealer is there, you have to get a background check. I mean, I bought a gun from a dealer there, and he said, well, fill this paper out, and come back and come to my shop in 3 days, and you can have the gun.
Right.
So that's fine. But there are a lot of private guys there that are not dealers, quote, not dealers.
Right, well, you can buy from somebody walking down the aisle.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I sold my gun the last gun show to a guy that was just there buying other guns.
Right, yeah, exactly. And so, and it's a cash transaction, which we report, of course, to the IRS.
Of course.
And, of course, report it as a loss sometimes. Anyway,
well, that's why we report it.
That's right. But, I mean, the fact is, if they think that what I'm thinking is if they think that they are going to somehow find for private transactions. Of course, they already do. If you try and sell a machine gun, privately, yeah, good luck on that.
Why? What? I mean, you can do it.
Oh yeah, but you have to register to get papers and everything like that. You have to pay a big stamp.
If they know about it, I mean, and I suppose whoever's giving it to you is gonna do all that because they don't want it to get tracked back to them somehow.
Right. Well, yeah. You got to think that probably a lot of the automatic guns these days, the ones that were manufactured after 1934, whenever that law came in, the idea that those guns are. Somebody, they could show up at your front door and say, "Where's the machine gun?" And you say, "I don't know. I sold it."
Right.
Who'd you sell it to? I don't know. Okay, you're going to jail.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. next item, another military item here.
Okay.
The U.S. charges former Air Force intel agent with defecting to Iran.
Okay.
This is interesting. This, to me, is interesting. The U.S. Justice Department charged a former Air Force intelligence official Wesley, for spying for Iran, saying that she exposed a fellow U.S. agent and helped the Revolutionary Guard target her former colleagues for cyber attacks. Apparently, she was in the intelligence part of cyber business, computers and everything, and she's really good at it. So she decided to take off and go to Iran and become a whatever you do over there, hijab, whatever, wearing and so forth. Monica Witt, who worked for years as Air Force counterintelligence, and she had an ideological turn against her country, and defected in 2013, turning over information to Tehran.
So what's the big deal?
Well, she's, I don't know, they've indicted her for treason, I guess, or something.
She blasted off, though, I think.
Oh yeah, no, she's over there. No,
Okay.
she's over there. The U.S. They indicted 4 Iranians working for the Revolutionary Guard over in Iran, and want to bring them back. I mean,
We'd like you to come show up for trial.
yeah, I'd like you to show up. Yeah, come on over and So
Issue a subpoena.
so anyway, in U.S. intelligence with malware and other hacking tools in hopes of accessing their computer networks. So anyway, they've issued arrest warrants, but good luck.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was kind of interesting that
When it happens, you figure it happens.
I mean, when you think about the movies that talk about World War II spies and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was Berlin, for instance. After the wall went up or whatever, it was just a hotbed. I mean, just everybody there was a spy, just about. So anyway, the guy in Venezuela, what's his name, Guaido? Or
Yeah, something like that.
Guaido.
We should probably figure out how to pronounce it. I'm going to call him Guido.
Yeah. Guaido seeks to wrest control of Venezuela's oil company. Venezuela's opposition-controlled National Assembly appointed a transitional board of directors for the state oil company. And this was
we mentioned this. We talked about it. He said he's taken over. He's trying
taken
to
over.
cash.
He declared himself, I love this, he declared himself interim president of Venezuela. And then the new board will also oversee their local U.S. subsidiary, the Houston-based refiner. Let's see, it says, here's the thing that I liked about this particular article. And the company operations will be maintained as is with the same employees. And in a move was prevent Citgo from being plundered by the dictatorship. Well, of course, it's being plundered all the time anyway. And of course, it's pretty obvious that the people that are running it down there are total incompetents.
Well, when he says the same people, does he mean the same people from before Chavez and Maduro put in their own people? Because at
Couldn't
one
be.
point,
No, because they were like, most of those were Americans.
yeah, I would have thought they were international people.
Yeah, they're international people, right? They knew how to run the stuff, is what I'm saying.
Right.
So no. What happened was when when Chavez came in, he put his own cronies in there.
Right.
Of course, right away the shipments started dropping. Not to mention that the price of oil went from $150 a barrel down to 50, and so that it had a double whammy, triple whammy, whatever. But I just thought it's interesting. It's interesting that the opposition. Still, this is one of those things about sovereign countries, and the United States has recognized Guaido as the de facto leader when he wasn't elected. He's assumed the presidency.
Whatever, like we've never done this before.
Right. Well, I think that it's interesting that his claim to fame is that he's going to maintain the same people running it down there that have already driven the refinery oil drilling and refinery process into the ground.
Yeah, he might have to say that just to get control, and then once he gets control, he can do
Then he
whatever.
can really screw it up.
Well, you wonder. It's certainly possible this guy could be worse.
Yes.
Not much, but it is possible.
It's funny you should say that because apparently some people that have looked at the history and not a stellar history for this guy. Apparently, maybe we'll talk about it sometime, but not now.
I would think the Venezuelan people would want, if anything, somebody who would put some people who know how to run that oil business back in charge.
Venezuelan people obviously don't have a say in any of this.
They're
starving in the streets, for God's sakes.
That's true.
I mean, they're running away from it all. It's so bad. So that's the same thing here in Gainesville. We don't half the people here in Gainesville don't have a say in what we do or what they do down there. Harvard judge wants to know where the Asian American victims are. Now you've talked about this kind of thing. A federal judge presiding over a race bias suit against Harvard College has had two main questions for the combatants. Where are the Asian American applicants who say they were discriminated against in the admission process? And why does the college give Asians poor personal ratings? Now, personal rating is part of the admission process.
Right.
You get your SATs and your GREs or whatever the heck it is. But then you've got, I guess, an essay.
Yeah, it's always been like that.
Yeah, it's always been like that, right? But and they can grade you very objectively.
Right.
Or, I'm sorry, subjectively on the personal stuff. You know, I don't know. You can't.
We
say,
didn't like the way.
Yeah, he sauntered in here.
Right, exactly.
He mooned me. Whatever. I don't know. So anyway, this is a key question in the lawsuit, and asked a lawyer for the Students for Fair Admissions, which brought the suit, why there was no testimony for last year's 3-week trial from an applicant allegedly denied admission because of bias. So my question to you is, where is this thing going to go? I mean, Harvard's a private school, but the law, the non-discrimination law,
Right.
is pretty broad, isn't it?
It is, and it covers this kind of stuff.
It does.
It's amazing to me that they get away with using race in and of itself as a metric. That doesn't have anything to do with anything. Look, there are so many other metrics you could choose. If you think the person's race has something to do with their development and the way that they are now, go back and find that thing and then use that as your reason. Don't just say because they're Asian or because they're Indian or whatever it is. It's insane. It's not insane. It's unconstitutional or anti-Title IX or whatever you want to call it. It's unfair and it's stupid, if you ask me, why they would use that ever as a metric, because the only possible outcome you could have is like a better or more even class photograph or something. It's not, it can't possibly.
Rainbow Coalition.
Right. And obviously that's what they're going for.
Yeah.
So
and
have fun with that.
Well, of course, the guy, I guess, they're right about one thing. I don't know why they didn't call this guy up to testify or whatever. Apparently he did before the applicant, who was denied.
Oh, they will. They'll get him in there.
They'll get him in there because what they were saying was, the contention, of course, is that there are so many of the Asians that are scoring, outrageously, but that's only like half of the score. The rest of it is, do we like you?
Right.
And
right, and of course what they're saying is, look, it's not because we're not qualified, it's because you don't want Harvard to be all Asian.
Right.
And that's true, probably. If Harvard was smart, well, I don't think they would do it. You take the best top people, no matter what race they are, no matter where
they've gone off the SJW cliff, though, in Harvard.
I'm with you, and I know that they think somehow diversity promotes something, but I think that they would come up with other metrics. That's what I would think. And so
well, they have this subjective one now that is,
Right. Well, it's interesting. The judge has already taken a look at that.
Yeah.
So he's questioning that, which means he's thinking about throwing it out, or not throwing it out, but discounting it, and saying, "Yeah, you abused this sort of thing. The thing you didn't like about it was their eyes, or whatever."
Yeah. So anyway, it's interesting because, but even though it's a private school, they do get a lot of government money. So
yeah.
That's one of the. Yeah, but the law apply. The only time the law doesn't apply is something like Hillsdale, where they specifically take no government money. And so they can pretty much do whatever they want.
Well, no, it's still a private business, which falls under the Title IX situation. It's like it's like the cake maker. You can't deny somebody a position, and I would think a student position is one that falls into that category, based on these things. And that's what they're alleging, is you actually denied us our entrance because we're Asian.
Okay.
And it has nothing to do with our personality. It's because there were already too many people from our part of the world in your college, and you didn't want the picture to look bad. So,
okay.
I hope they win.
Let me see now.
I'm getting really disenchanted with our institutions of higher learning when I keep seeing people come out of there like Stacey Abrams gets a Yale law degree and is a total communist. And
well, look at AOC, of course, for God's sake, has an economics degree. God, get that.
I think is it from Dartmouth or something?
No, it's from some Boston college. I forget what it's called. It's not a big name, but it's a name.
Right.
Whatever, I forget what it is.
I saw something. Oh, Dartmouth the other day, they were having a student protest. It was one of those shout the guy down because we don't like what he had to say things the other day. It's like,
my father must be rolling in his grave.
seriously, what are you thinking? How can you decide to deal with an opposing opinion by screaming at them like children?
It seems, again,
Somebody needs a timeout. Go. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then the faculty encourages it.
Yeah. Well, it's
like a bunch of kids.
That's when and of course it starts at the bottom, but it certainly by the time, if you had some decent people in the high schools, they would say, look, you don't have to go to college. You can, get yourself, a real job as a welder or something like that, where you can actually do an apprenticeship and you can earn, triple figure, five figures, whatever it is, before you even get to college age.
Well, or how about these days, take all the classes online,
right,
by professors who's been ostracized.
Yeah. Well, of course, and then there's Khan Academy and so forth. Yeah.
Get your sort of differently accredited degree.
Now, it even gets better than that. I went on to find out you can get for about somewhere from $300 up a beautiful graduation diploma along with a
picture of you in blackface in the yearbook?
No. If you're black, maybe, but no. But with a, what do you call it? The record. What do you call it?
The transcript.
Transcripts. You can get that, and I mean, it can be. I think the most expensive ones are like $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you pony up, you get this gorgeous thing, and it's tough to trace. So you go in there. It's like that guy. The Can You Catch Me Now guy that was. He.
It's getting easier and easier though. Yeah. Cross-referencing.
Yeah, that's right. I suppose it is. But okay. But if you really know what you're talking about, if you can do all the jargon and everything, if you can walk into your peer groups in there and start doing all that stuff,
you see that every once in a while. Somebody got busted about that for the other day. Didn't have a degree, but had been in office for a long time.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Okay, let me just think here if I'm almost done. Bloomberg.
Wow, that went fast.
Yeah, it did. It did go fast. So I've got to go through here real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay, Bloomberg reportedly wants to spend $500 million to defeat Trump. Somebody said that Trump spent about 150 or 180 million of his money to get elected. Of course, he had a lot of hangers on everything, but he got elected. So Bloomberg hasn't decided whether he's going to run yet or not. But he's prepared to spend $500 million to defeat Trump. That's that's a $500 million bomb on the 2020 presidential race, regardless of whether he does or doesn't run. It turns out that the $500 million is like 1% of his net worth. So
really,
yeah, it's nothing. It's
got
nothing.
$50 billion,
something like that. Yeah, it's total.
From my perspective, it could be a $500 million campaign contribution to Trump if he spends it wrong, because Trump does best with opposition. Yeah. So if you try to run negative ads against Trump, he's just going to destroy you, I think.
Yeah.
Now you could spend the $500 million to try to get other candidates up there.
Of course, that's what some people are talking about as far as AOC is concerned. They're trying to, delve into the pile and see who's going to run against her. Somebody, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've got to get here at the end. We're just right here at the end. Airlines to begin adding a new gender option for non-binary flyers. Now, I thought this was interesting. Now, when you book online, you don't have to check M or F. Mm-hmm. You can go none of the above, or something, or both of the above. I don't know what, but non-binary. I'm sitting there thinking about the airplane safety, and you're going through the checklist,
right?
And I'm not one of those. And you're a guy, and they start to feel you. Don't touch me there. I mean, whatever. And
well, how about the terrorist checklist situation, cross-referencing? Well, we're looking for a bunch of male. Oh, nope, no males here.
Yeah, right. Not one of those, right? Nope. I just, as part of Delta's, and this is the 5 major airlines have come on this, as part of Delta's ongoing efforts to accommodate the needs of diverse customers throughout our business, we are planning to offer a non-binary gender option during the booking process.
All right, so if you want to have some good laughs about all this stuff, go on to YouTube and Google Jordan Peterson because he's a clinical psychologist and he has an amazing repertoire of work wherein he talks about this situation.
Well, he talked about it was only just a couple of years ago. He talked about it at some seminar or something in Canada, and they practically ran him out on a rail.
They totally did, but it's been to his extreme benefit.
Yeah, I know.
He opened up a Patreon account, YouTube's gone off the channel, everything. He's crushing it because he got kicked out, and they made him super popular because he relied on the past 25 years of scientific evidence concerning the differences between men and women.
Yeah.
And not evil differences, just regular old differences that we're all going to have to accept at some point. But
okay, well, it's 5 o'clock. So
what?
Yeah, no, I'm serious.
Holy crap!
I know. I had a couple more things. Maybe we'll cover them on Wednesday. But there are two things. One, Anthony Weiner has been released from prison.
What?
Yes. He had a 3 or 4 year sentence or something, and he got out. I think he's going to be on like house arrest or something. But he's in some kind of federal program now. But he's out. He's or he's going to get out here in a month or two. This is the guy who took pictures of his underwear and everything. So
sent him to like underage kids and stuff.
No, they sent him to us. There's a special rehabilitation type.
No. I mean, he sent the pictures to underage kids.
Yes. Underage girls or whatever. Yeah. So I don't know if he's going to be on the watch list now. Isn't there a
re-election?
Well, he could run for mayor again. That's number one. But does that classify him as a sexual offender? I wonder?
Probably. There are different degrees of sexual offenderness.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that does qualify him as at least one level. So it's hideous. You don't want to be associated with that.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. And the last thing I've got, which I'll maybe talk about more, is there's a new petition out to sell Montana to Canada for $1 trillion. There is a group called Change.org proposes selling Montana to Canada for $1 trillion to help pay off the national debt, which of course that's like one year's worth of.
That's just the debt. That's just the deficit.
That's right. Yeah, so that's
no
worth
debt. Nobody's paying off any debt from that. You're just not going further.
We have too much debt, and Montana is useless. The petition reads. As for getting Canada to go for the deal, just tell them we have beavers or something. So anyway, there's a whole list of things. If you want to go on Google it, they have questions about why they might want to do this. And this one guy says, well, why don't you buy Alaska, instead? They don't touch any states. And, I think that makes more sense. And
I like Ron White's plan. He says we should buy Mexico and then sell it to somebody with a bunch of cash like Peru. And then when they default on the payments, you can go repossess it. And then we own Mexico free and clear.
Free and clear, yeah, that's right. Well, that's one way to do it, I suppose. But they had a lot of the questions were, obviously tongue in cheek and everything. But does Montana get to keep the nuclear missiles? Or so anyway, they talk about the new border, what it would look like. They wanted to know if it was going to be called South Alberta when they rename Montana, or were they going to call Alberta New Montana, or something, whatever's above there. So anyway, that's what I had.
Okay, well I got one more thing.
Okay.
It was McCabe. McCabe was the guy who started the investigation on the president.
Okay.
Acting Director McCabe came out and admitted it, or he will admit it tonight, in a 60 Minutes episode, and he's going to detail it out, why he thought the president was under the influence of Russia, and really it's stupid for him to do this.
Now, didn't he write a book?
He is, and he's on his book tour right now. So this is what's going on. But here's the thing. He is treading on dangerous ground here because he's all but admitting that the reason that they went after Trump was because he fired Comey. That's not a reason. He has plenary power to fire Comey.
Right.
So you better have some supporting evidence beyond that in support of your FISA warrant applications. And
well, hasn't he been proven on a lot of occasions a liar?
McCabe?
Yeah.
He's under investigation, I think, and he was fired for lying.
Okay.
But whatever, who knows? my point though is that you don't want to go up against the president like this, sort of out on your book tour, just spreading evidence around about what you did and how you did it. Bad idea, I think. I wouldn't want to be him right now. I wouldn't be surprised if the investigation starts to take a pretty wicked turn towards the FBI and the people that were involved, provided that the Mueller report, if it ever comes out, exonerates Trump.
Well, like the word is apparently that it's not an exoneration. It's we found no evidence kind of.
That's an exoneration.
Oh, okay.
From my perspective.
Okay.
That mean if there's no charges filed, no charges recommended, that's an exoneration. So
Okay.
we'll see. And now, of course, he could phrase it differently. He could say,
Well, you know-
we know he's guilty, but we're not going to recommend it. But
Well, it's like in a trial, you know, you can we find the defendant not guilty. That doesn't mean he's innocent. You don't find him innocent.
well, you do.
You do for all intents and purposes.
Exactly. From my perspective, that's innocent.
Okay, all right.
And but shoot, what you just said. Well, never mind. But
So, and just real quickly, Manafort's supposed to get real serious jail time. What's that all about?
well, because he went back on his plea deal,
Yeah.
according to the judge.
Right.
And so, the way this
Well,
works,
didn't he get arrested for like lying or something?
right? Exactly. So
And
what
he's going
happens?
to go to jail forever?
Well, yeah, because anytime you break any kind of federal law, the sentence is forever. There's no light sentence in federal court. Every one of these people was facing decades in jail. That's why it's so easy to see why they would turn around and confess to lying when
Right.
in fact they could all be innocent, because the threat is you go to jail until you die, or you say that you lied and then we'll give you probation. And these guys are all rich, soft, old guys who never spent a day in jail. They're not going to do well in prison, in federal prison, for decades. And so they almost, it's like a slam dunk on these guys. So, ugh.
You know, but of course the other thing is who benefits from something like that? I just, you know, you lied to me, you know, and okay, so
Well,
you're going to go to jail forever.
Well, look, it's to me, it's a hideous over sentencing type of thing. But as Judge Napolitano pointed out, that very well may get him the pardon, because and that's what he seems to be playing for, as we talked about from the very beginning. Manafort always has seemed from day one since he's been charged that he's playing for the pardon. He remember he didn't even prepare his trial or didn't do anything leading up to it, so he rejected the plea deal, and then he just went through the trial and lost. Like, it was like, what the hell are you doing? And or however it worked out, I can't remember exactly. Well, however it worked out, sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head, but the bottom line is he was going to get a lot lighter sentence. Now he's not going to, but this may open him up to the pardon, I think.
I'll tell you what he needs to do. He needs to become friends with one of the Kardashian that got...
There you go, yeah.
Yeah, that got one of that guy. That's what he needs to do. He starts a pen pal with which I don't know which Kardashian it was, but
Kim.
Was it Kim? Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that's the one he needs to be friends with.
Yep. All right. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. I guess that's all the time we have today. I can tell you just super fast one more little thing, and that is the city of Stockton may try a BMI type of program. The city of Stockton,
They're bankrupt, aren't they?
oh yeah.
Okay.
This is a hideous endeavor, but basically they picked 180 people, I think, out of their population.
Oh, that's right.
And they're going to give them $500 a month, no strings attached.
Where are they getting the money?
Well, like, what kind of experiment is that? That has nothing. That's not BMI. That's like just selecting some people to give some money to.
Yeah.
It's not even a scientific sample size. 180 people? What? So, all right. Well, anyway. Hey, thanks, everybody. This went super fast. Thanks, Gene, Bill, Kelly. Good to have you guys. We really appreciate it. Come back and see us again. We'll be back, of course, Wednesday at 4 o'clock. So,
Tell your friends, and now we're on iTunes.
that's correct. So,
And we're on a bunch of other ones too.
Yeah, if you search around for us now, there's some relay sites. We're back up.
And not only that, they also have included a ton of our old shows.
Right. Well, that's what
From the 1990s.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the early 2000s.
Early 2000s, yeah. Yeah, early 2000s, right.
All right. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.